Uh-oh. Ah, ah, ah. Uh-oh.
Does everybody know what time it is?
Home and podcast time.
Well, that's right. Binford Tools is proud to present a home improvement podcast. My name is Adam. You'll know my co-host, Jordan. Hey, Jordan.
Adam, I'm excited to close out season 7 today with you.
It's crazy. Yeah. One more season left. And you're already talking about spin-off ideas for the podcast. I tell you what, your opinion on podcasting in our future really changes with the wind and what you're willing to do versus
I
not
will
willing.
say my energy level varies. It seems like week to week, but now that we've started to do some of these YouTube videos...
Yeah, you like it. I can tell.
You know, I like being creative, and I like the video editing process, and it's more helpful when I feel like I see improvements right away from our video and stuff. Right? Home improvements, yeah. most certainly. So, no, it's an exciting time for the podcast. We've been putting the YouTube stuff on the back burner for a long time, so we're doing that. I know that you can't sleep a wink because you're so excited about that. At least
yes, that's why.
At least that's what I'm assuming. So,
I haven't been getting enough Z's lately. I don't know. Just the state of the world, I guess, is troubling me, Jordan. But this is not the right platform for that.
No, that's where you're going to go on your friend's podcast. I almost thought it was going to be that you were, spending so much time on your scripts. And so at night, the kind of creative juices start flowing and, you get ideas. I know that can happen sometimes to people. Yeah,
I wish it were that. It's not. So, yeah, it's not that. That's for sure. No, things are fine, Jordan. If I seem a little out of it, I'm just a little tired. But I'm gonna, like I told you before, I'm gonna bring the heat because this is the end of season 7. We got one more season left, about 6 months left in the podcast run, give or take. I want it to be our best season yet, season 8. But first, we got to finish season 7. I'm getting ahead of myself.
You are getting ahead of yourself. But that does mean, as listeners will know, we are going to do our season in summation at the end of this episode. So we're going to talk about the normal episode, and then we're going to talk about top 3 episodes, bottom 3 episodes of season 7, our favorite guest stars, MVPs, just the really important things that matter in the world right now. So we're going to continue to do that. Before we do that, you told me about an interesting connection between... a wonderful 90s film and the most wonderful 90s TV series.
Hey, hear about this, these guys, home food podcast. Jaywalking. Oh, okay, so I was, I don't even know why I was doing this, but I was, looking at some home improvement stuff the other day, just checking the web.
Because you are dedicated.
That's true, yeah. And I came across an article. I'm not going to talk about the article specifically, but within the article, there was something I had not ever seen before, because we always hit the same stuff with these. We always see, Wilson was based off of, Tim's neighbor growing up, or Tim got busted for drugs, or they turned down a bunch of money, that kind of stuff. Tim got free sweatshirts from schools, all that. We know this stuff. Everybody knows it. But I ran across this thing, and I can't remember if we've brought it up on the show before. If we have... Sorry, but I don't remember.
Forgive us.
Yeah,
we're just like all those articles that re-syndicate things.
I guess it's true, yeah. I mean, we've been doing this a long time. This could have come up before, but... So I was reading... All right, so the connection is this. Mrs. Doubtfire, which I hope you've seen, Jordan. You must have seen it.
Several times, yes.
Okay, thank the Lord. Mrs. Doubtfire was originally written to be a home improvement, spin-off film. So they were
I think we have now that you actually start talking, we very lightly touch on this, but I think we should go more in depth. So I'm glad you're bringing it up again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a ton of information, but I Googled it, and it's definitely, there's enough on it out there to make me think that it probably was true. But so the idea was I don't know how it was going to work, but they were going to take all of the characters from Home Improvement, and I mean, Tim was going to be playing the Mrs. Doubtfire role, and you can kind of see the the basis of that with like the nanny character that he's done a couple times. You know, if you
Right.
think about that earlier on in the show, so he could have done it. And I don't know where the rest of the cast and crew kind of fits in, but yeah, it was going to be like a movie. I don't theatrical or made for TV. I can't quite tell you, but Tim was going to be Mrs. Doubtfire. I'm not sure what the circumstances were going to be in terms of getting him into this other house, but that was kind of the impetus. So that was where it started, and then he said no. And I guess they also offered him the role of Pierce Brosnan in the movie. Like even once Robin Williams took it, like he was going to play that role, and he just didn't want anything to do with it, allegedly. But that would have been interesting. Very hard to imagine for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of an iconic role by Robin Williams, so it's hard to see anybody in that role instead of him. But I guess, so if they were making it a spin-off from the show, would they, like, introduce a storyline where Jill wants a divorce or something? Maybe?
Yeah.
And then have it
I
go
guess.
from there? I don't know. That's. I guess that would be the natural way to do it.
I guess you're right. Yeah, it's hard for me to imagine them doing that after, like, the last couple seasons of Home Improvement are so like sentimental and like overly.
Yeah, I guess.
Sort of,
what year did Mrs. Doubtfire come out?
93 or something. So
Oh yeah, so that'd have been super early on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I don't. Yeah, I don't really. It's a confusing thing, but it does say movie spin-off, so like you can assume that they would be playing the same character. Spin-off can mean a million different things, but
Yeah.
yeah, this Mrs. Doubtfire is the kind of movie where it's like I don't think we're still talking about it if Robin Williams isn't in it. Like these movies, like the guy dressing up as the woman, and like there's a million of them where like he's trying to infiltrate or something, and most of them are pretty forgettable with the exception of this one. So probably wouldn't have been as indelible of a hit with Tim Allen, but an interesting thing nonetheless.
I feel like the other day I forget what I was watching. Somehow I got on this thing where it was like Martha Stewart and Robin Williams on like one of her shows, and he does his Robin Williams things where he just like goes off the deep end, and she is trying to like pull the show through it,
Really?
and it was really funny actually.
Now she'd be hanging with Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, and he would be, I guess, rapping instead.
I guess, yeah, or they'd be rolling fat blunts, and that's kind of her new thing is like this relationship with Snoop Dogg. She's now like purposely trying to be funny, but I guess back then she was probably, before the insider trading and stuff, trying to maintain some respectability.
Just be the Martha Stewart living persona. But interesting story, Adam. I'm so glad you brought it up again so we could talk more about how that would work.
Yeah, Miss Doubtfire. It's a good one. Check it out.
It's a good one. Yeah, I'd watch that again.
Yeah.
Is that a Home and Podcast Patreon episode? I doubt it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I will say, speaking about
we gotta
Patreon,
go.
I think I'm going to watch First Kid this weekend. That's the biggest step.
Oh wow, okay.
To get into recording that episode. So I don't know if you've seen it or you watched it already or not, but
I have not watched already. This is the first time for you, right? First time, first kid? First adult watching First Kid?
I mean, maybe I watched it because I'm semi-familiar with the premise and
Well, you don't
the
need to watch it
actors.
to understand the premise. He's the first kid. It's in the title.
I just think it's one of those things that's going to ring a bell once I start watching it. But yeah, it doesn't stick in my memory for any reason. But either way, it's going to be an experience.
There's
and
some
we're gonna
really
talk about it.
good there's some like really good computer stuff in there. One of my favorite things in movies and TV shows is like when they can't figure out what computers actually look like in real life, and they are like doing magic things that computers wouldn't have done at the time. There's like a really good like game chat room kind of component of First Kid. Look forward to hearing your thoughts.
It's like
on.
Twitch or something.
You'll see.
All right, I'm excited. All right, but for today, we're going to continue with Home Improvement, and we're going to talk about episode 176,
Wow.
season 7 finale from top to bottom. Yep. This one written by our old friend Charlie Hawk, and he The Birdman last did an older woman, in which we meet Samantha, Brad's new flame.
Yeah, he did. He did.
I wonder if they got married yet. I guess not. This one aired May 19th, 1998. You talk about like lack of creative juices. Yeah, that's where my alternative titles are this week. So
I got 5.
Ooh, well, you get to bat off and hit cleanup.
What?
Lead off and hit cleanup.
Wow. Okay. I wondered.
And I'm just gonna strike out 3 times in the middle.
All right. tool man in need of repair.
Okay.
When you have 5, they're generally not very good.
There's usually a gem or two in there,
Yeah,
though.
we'll see.
Still waiting on it. All right. First one, talk show trash talk.
That says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. How about quid pro? Oh no. I'm going to that oh no well a lot lately, aren't I?
I think you've done a quid pro something as well.
Well, whatever.
All right. Well, my next one is hoodwinked.
What else? Is there more to it?
No, it's just hoodwinked.
All right. Is there no play on words? Just hoodwinked. Oh, the car. Okay.
Yeah, the car hood.
I appreciate that more now that I understand it. This one. You're the worst. WURST.
Yeah. Jill does a good worst joke in the episode on this one. So, all right. My last one is Jill tells all.
Yeah. Maybe not your best. I got two more. Started from the bottom. Tim's still there. Just started from the bottom. Tim's still here. Did I say it twice? Is it better?
Nope. Worse the second time.
All right. Well, let me just slide into my next one. Well, Mark's guitar gently weeps.
Wow.
It's an all-time bad showing for me.
That's 8 bad titles.
Yeah, it's terrible.
No wonder Gruntwork has more patrons than us.
Oh, what? I know that. I know for a fact that they also do this segment, which is don't even get me started. But
Well, we all know where it came from.
one of our listeners.
I know, one of our listeners who maybe told them to. That'd be funny.
That would be funny.
All right, let's get into the actual episode, because it has to be better than what we just tried to do.
Marginally.
All right, well, we're going to open on Tool Time, and it's Hot Rod Week. I feel like there's been a couple of season finales that focus on the Hot Rod, and this episode is no different. So there's a countdown of 5 days until Tim is done with his car. They talk about how there's going to be like big moments in TV, or the history of big moments in TV. They talk about the man on the moon, the Berlin Wall falling, and then Tim picking out the color of his convertible top.
Well, they said they were going to break a record, which I was kind of confused by.
Oh, they did. I didn't catch that.
Yeah, it's like
no records are broken
here.
here.
Yeah, record breaking in what? Yeah, in what sense? I don't know.
No, but out comes Sparky Anderson, a record breaker of sorts. And don't ask me what record. He has a giant wheel of colors to find the right complements that he's already picked out for like the color of the car and the seats. And Tim kind of knows right away, which I guess would get rid of this wheel of colors that Sparky was so excited about. But they seem to change their mind. And I notice here, I don't remember this from other episodes, and maybe it's true, but Sparky and Tim really seem to be kindred spirits here.
Yeah, no, it's been a continuation of that,
Okay.
and Sparky doesn't like Al at all. They have no time for Al's suggestions, and that's we've seen that a few times before.
I guess it's a good thing that Sparky doesn't host the show, because there wouldn't be quite the same dynamic. With Tim.
you need that sort of back and
You need
forth.
the contrast, yeah.
Yeah.
Tim instantly changes his mind from the white to a beige shade, and then he throws some more shade, a different kind of shade, at Al as he suggests certain colors. So there's not really a lot else going on here unless
It's pretty long. It's like 4.5 minutes of nothing.
Yeah, and I think at the start there's like a really long like applause opening because they must know it's the season finale or something. I don't know.
Could be. Yeah, this one had a little bit of padding, I would say, on both ends of this episode. I like Sparky.
Yeah. What's not to like?
Your voice. Yeah, he's all right.
I mean, it's never crossed my mind that I wouldn't like Sparky.
Yeah, I don't know. Just, see, I'm a Sparky fan. What can I say?
Sparky Anderson, former Tiger?
I mean, that's in the trivia. It's a long, robust section of the trivia. Sparky Anderson was the Detroit Tigers
Somebody
manager
wrote
for
a
long
paragraph
time.
on that when it needed 3 words.
Yeah, all you had to say was allusion to Detroit Tigers manager. But, Sparky's in the fold, and, hey, I, for one, I'm glad. Should we go to the next scene?
I think we should.
Home. Tim's on the phone dealing with car stuff. He's trying to put the finishing touches on it, and there's a lot of jokes about name jokes about guys he's talking to. I didn't write any of them down.
I got a couple for you.
Go for it.
Spanish Bob and One-Eyed Ned.
Yeah, and I think Randy sounds like pirates or something.
He's not wrong.
He ain't wrong.
Randy knows a lot about pirates.
But I don't want to be a pirate. Jill comes in, and inexplicably, she's going to be on a talk show. I don't quite know how this happened, but
She explains it. Seems a bit convoluted.
yeah, I didn't. She must have. My eyes glazed over. I didn't get it. It's called "Talk to Me," which is about the laziest name they could have come up with.
Well, they came up with a subtitle for this episode, and
Yes.
that's "Women on Top."
Ooh, yeah, and it's hosted by Barbara. Is it can't. I wrote down Cornfield, but that can't be right.
I think it's Canfield.
Barbara
Canfield.
Cornfield. She's a scarecrow. And it's called Women on Top, like you said. We get some porno jokes here from Tim, as well as later on. And they just kind of talk about it's going to be Jill. It's going to be I don't remember, doctor, and then maybe a lawyer.
Pediatrician, and then I wrote them down when we get to the scene, so we'll get there.
It's accomplished women, and Jill is a little nervous. And Randy kind of unnecessarily burns his mom here. He's like, yeah, we got 2 professionals and then a part-time student with no income. It'd be like, you know what? Go screw Randy. This part-time mother with no income is putting a roof over your
Randy's
head.
sowing the seeds for Costa Rica right now.
I know. I think that was ad-libbed. And he was taking a shot.
I don't know. Him and Pat seem to be on good terms now, so
Yeah,
maybe not
true.
so much. But yeah, I think. And then there's also a joke here at the end of the scene where Tim is like, "Oh, bummer, we can't do it because I have a timing conflict with like something about the cars."
Yeah, he's doing something with Sparky.
Until he realizes, like, oh, I probably should relinquish that control there. So I guess what if the whole episode was that conflict? It would have been like the 900th time we've had a conflict like that.
Yeah, I mean, what we get isn't a ton better, but
No.
we'll get there.
It would have led to a Mrs. Doubtfire spinoff, though.
That wouldn't have been bad. Yeah.
All right. Next scene at the hardware store. Benny is writing a birthday note to his mom, and he asks, "How do you spell IOU?" Classic Benny.
I mean,
classic.
come on. Like, I know he's dumb, but if he doesn't know that, he couldn't even be able to dress himself, really.
I think Benny, at this point, he's just working out his bits.
Benny no homie.
Sparky and Tim come into the hardware store. Has it been a while since we've been here? I always think it's been a while, but
Not
maybe
that
I'm
long,
wrong.
but it's been a while since we've been here with everybody. I mean, we got
That's right, the whole clan.
The whole squad. Yeah.
Yeah. They still can't decide on fabric, and Sparky's carrying around like a big old binder full of different fabrics. Benny and Harry are upset because they haven't seen Tim in a while. He's been focused, I guess, on the hot rod, and Harry's so upset he had to cancel a Dolores-free vacation to Hawaii.
Yeah.
So there's some jokes around there that, he's going on vacation but without Dolores, blah, blah, blah. Tim realizes that it's time for Jill's talk show appearance. Wonderful. So he wants to leave and go watch it at home, and boy, after the fact, he wishes he would have. But instead, Harry brings out the old TV, and it's like, I don't know, this is probably like an 11-inch screen.
Pretty
It's
little.
one of the old tube TVs with rabbit ears and stuff. Just brought me back a little bit, know?
Yeah.
They all tune in, they huddle around, they tune in around the TV, and it's an economist, a pediatrician, and Jill.
Yeah.
It's sort of a joke, I guess. They all walk into a bar, and they do that thing where they like zoom into the TV, right?
Yeah.
To get a better picture. It's always an interesting TV trick.
It took a long time. It took so long for them to zoom in and then finally cut to Jill that I wondered, are we going to see this whole thing from Tim's perspective, watching the TV? Which would have been interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have liked it any better. Probably not.
Yeah, probably not. I would have just wished we could have zoomed in more, but yeah.
All right, well, they're talking about basically how did your husbands react when you went back to work? And the men were not very supportive. Jill, in contrast, says that Tim was very supportive, and she's making Tim look good initially. There's a couple jokes here as well where Benny is like into the host, and then he's kind of into Jill.
The Jill thing is funny when he says that. He's like,
funny.
Come to think of it,
It is funny. Jill, and then Barbara Canfield asks Jill
Cornfield?
Cornfield, my bad. She asked the scarecrow can talk. This is like the Wizard of Oz. And Jill is the resident psychologist. So they ask Jill, like, what's going on? She falls back into her old... I mean, how many times do you think Jill has said hunter-gatherer?
That's like, whoever is writing the Jill, like, psychiatrist dialogue, that's their only real understanding of the field, is the primitive nature of man, I guess.
And women.
Yeah.
That's it. The whole thing.
Yeah.
And she says, why is Tim the exception? She says, Tim is one of a kind. He breaks rules and everything else. This is when Benny says he's into Jill. The girls then start sharing their struggles, and they kind of make it seem like Jill has the perfect life. And this is what flips the way that she's protecting Tim, because she starts to say, you know what, I've struggled too. And she goes down this diatribe where she ends up calling Tim vulnerable and telling everyone on air that he's going through a midlife crisis. All the boys, as you can imagine, around the screen are ragging on Tim now. And she shares his coping mechanisms and how he's kind of like out of control. And then she finishes him off by calling him stupid and pathetic.
Yeah.
It's an impressive performance. And
Jill was their commissar. Yeah, okay, so a couple things. You didn't mention earlier, like, when Sparky's there, and then all of a sudden he's like, I gotta go to my step aerobics class.
Oh, good call.
Yeah,
good call.
But here's the weird thing. Like, the audience doesn't laugh.
No, I laughed.
I did too. But, like, he says that, and then he goes, but the audience just does not respond, which I thought was weird.
that was written as a laugh line, right?
For sure, yeah, but, like, it didn't get one, which was odd. And then he comes back at the end, and he says that...
Very
also,
sweaty.
This step aerobics class, is it, like, just, like, outside of Harry's? Like, it's pretty close, because he comes back, he's like, I just saw it at the gym with a bunch of other guys. They felt bad, but they were masking it by laughing at you, which was funny. I did enjoy Sparky's, he's all sweaty and stuff as well. So in the beginning, is Jill, like, purposefully lying about Tim to make him sound good, or is that her belief that he was supportive when she...
I don't think she thinks he was supportive. I think it seems like she's trying to protect Tim, because later she talks about how she didn't want to do that, and that's what ends up happening. So I think that was her intention. If she thinks that Tim was supportive, I think she's got another problem. So
yeah. Also interesting that all of these women are apparently married to Tim, because they all kind of sound exactly like him.
Well, Tim is the everyman.
Evidently, yeah. That's all I got. But yeah, I tell you what, the message boards must have went crazy after this one.
You think so? You think the message boards just really went up a tick?
Oh man, the feminist clause. This one, I tell you, oof.
No, all over it. Before we talk about Tim and Jill's conversation here in a moment, Adam, I want to introduce you to our sponsor this week. Okay. That's right. We have a sponsor, and that name of the sponsor is Fruit of the Bean Coffee. Adam, I know you're a coffee lover, right?
Love coffee. I got a cup right next to me.
All right. Well, let me know how this sounds. How about fresh roasted Costa Rican coffee?
I mean, I'm with you so far, yeah.
Okay. What about organic Bali blue coffee?
Yeah, I think I'm still with you, yeah.
Well, Fruit of the Bean Coffee offers these delicious varieties for your morning cup of joe and several other varieties. So, both whole bean coffee and ground coffee. What more can you ask for? 3 most important things that you need to know about Fruit of the Bean Coffee. You ready for this?
Yeah, give me all 3 if you don't mind.
All right, all 3. Number 1, their coffee is not roasted until after it's ordered.
Important. Really important.
Very important. Number 2, and I think this is my favorite part, they love giving back to the community by helping orphans and those affected by human trafficking. And they do that by taking 10% of their net sales and putting it to work to make a difference in these lives. So that's a pretty cool thing that they're doing.
Admirable.
Yeah, it's not just about the money. It's about people, too. Mm-hmm. And number 3, during this coronavirus quarantine, they're offering a 20% discount to help out fellow Americans during this time, to help them with their coffee fix. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, I gotta look into that.
All right, well, since you want to look into it, and I'm sure our listeners want to look into it.
You got like a URL or something?
Yeah, let's go to fruitofthebean.com. That's fruitofthebean.com. Drink coffee and do good.
Love it.
Let's move on at home, where this is where stuff's going to start hitting the fan.
Sort of. I mean, not as much as you think. I can take this. Okay. So Jill comes home. She kind of peers in the door. She's nervous. She knows immediately upon coming home that she's made a mistake or several mistakes. Mark is sitting at a bar stool strumming his guitar, sort of aimlessly.
Slapping the bass.
Slapping the bass, man. Randy's there as well. They started to talk about they watched it, and Mark. What does Mark say? No, Mark says something stupid later, I guess. I can't remember if it's an hour later where he's like, I get my life back. I guess that's later in response to the hot rod.
Mark's just continuing his downward spiral.
Yeah, he's having a tough time. But they mentioned that Tim didn't watch it there, so Jill has some hope that maybe he didn't watch it, period. Tim comes home, and based on the tone of his voice, she can immediately tell the
when
boys
he comes
scurry
in.
Off. He's like, hello,
He's
Jill.
very testy. It's really funny.
Yeah. Jill does a thing that characters do on TV shows where instead of apologizing, they claim the other person is overreacting.
Wrong move.
Yeah, bad. She draws parallels between what she did and what Tim does on Tool Time with the nagging wife voice and, mentioning Jill's faults and so on. But Tim says, I'm paid to be a character, which is the first time I've heard him say that. But
News to me.
It's kind of funny. And that's really all I have for this scene.
Yeah, I think he also is taking a bad angle when he says he's a character. But then he kind of like refocuses right after that and is like, hey, this is about you. And I think Jill has done this several times where like she's in the wrong, but she tries to blame it on him. And then she goes on to say like she was talking about men in general. But obviously she only mentioned Tim directly. So not a great scene for Jill. So, but you know what? She's going to...
You can say that again.
Yeah, you could. She's gonna immediately regret that whole conversation because she's watching it back. Next scene, she's watching the tape. I think the boys taped it.
Just one line though.
Well, she watched the whole thing, maybe. Yeah. And she realizes her error, and she sees Wilson juggling outside. So we might as well go talk to him.
Yeah, let's play that clip.
Wilson, is that you?
Oh, I'm so sorry, neighborette. Good thing I wasn't juggling chainsaws.
Yeah. I didn't know you juggled.
Oh, yes, indeedy. I'm a little bit rusty. But in my younger days, I worked in the circus. As a matter of fact, I roomed with a two-headed man.
Did you split the utilities 3 ways?
No, 5 ways. We also lived with Nicky, the lobster boy, and Margot, the human corkscrew.
I'm rooming with Tim, the ticked-off tool man. I was on a talk show today, and I said some things about him I shouldn't have said.
Well, Tim's done that to you on Tool Time.
Yeah, but I said that he was stupid and pathetic.
Oh, my. What caused you to do that?
Well, I don't know. All these women were trashing their husbands, and I didn't want to do that. You know, I wanted to explain Tim's behavior.
Well, who were these women?
Oh, they were very successful professional women. One was a doctor, the other was an economist. Oh, I see what you're saying.
All I said was,
Oh, but what you meant was that the reason that I was analyzing Tim was because I was insecure around these successful women and felt that I needed to show off how much I knew about psychology. You make another good point. I mean, I was validated for what I said, so I went on and on and on and on. I sold Tim out to make myself look good. Wow. You're really tough on me sometimes, Wilson. But you don't make me feel judged. You know, you're just a genius. How do you do that?
I just tell it like it is.
This is a pretty good fence scene, Jordan. This might be my favorite part of the
As
episode.
fence scenes go.
Yeah, if I were doing the Wilsometer, which I'm not, this would be friggin' 100. Wilson was in the circus, blah, blah, blah. It's fine, whatever. But what's funny is, like, so Jill's kind of explaining the situation and talking, and Wilson is just sort of, he's not even able to really say anything in response because Jill is just talking through the whole situation herself. So, like, she'll just sort of, like, she's talking, and then he'll get about to say something. She'll be like, well, of course you mean this. And Wilson continues to not really be able to say anything because Jill is just sort of talking and figuring this out on her own. Eventually she's like, well, you know what, Wilson, you're pretty tough on me, but I respect you for it. And meantime, he's just kind of standing there with his mouth open the whole time. But I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah, I think it's actually pretty good too, because at this point we know that Jill should know better. So having like Wilson give advice seems kind of contrite. So I think it's kind of an interesting way for Jill to still have a fence scene, but not make it seem stupid.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Later, Jill is trying to make it up to Tim, and she starts by lighting some romantic candles, and Tim comes in. He's still a little mad, but she wants to explain and apologize, and she made him a fancy dinner, his favorite, bratwurst, and this is where she makes that bratwurst joke. She says, like, you could call this my worst dinner. I don't even know if the crowd laughs at that either.
Tough crowd.
Tim says, I know how you feel now, because he's done this to her several times. But then they kind of get into, I think, a real emotional question. And Tim wonders, are you mad at me for how my midlife crisis is going? And Jill says, no. Like, it's hard to keep up with you, but I'm glad that you're having emotions. And I think that's a good message to portray in this episode.
It's sort of a good bookend, because the season starts with them on the beach, and he's going through the midlife crisis, and then this sort of ties a bow on it, or at least like references it enough so that I sort of appreciated this season for its continuation of arcs, and this was one of them. And I mean, this isn't like a great episode. You can tell we're almost done with it. There's not a lot of meat on the bone here.
Right.
But I did appreciate them kind of returning to the midlife crisis stuff.
Yep. And Jill then finishes off the scene by saying, being in front of the camera made her really appreciate Tim's talent. And, Adam, being on the podcast with you makes me really appreciate your talent.
Right back at you, Jordan. Thanks a lot. Yeah, you did a good ad read, so I'll return the compliment. I gotta say, Tim's pretty understanding here.
Yeah, I think they both had time to think about how this played out, and Tim kind of realizes that he maybe wasn't as supportive as he could have been. So maybe that's some self-reflection, and it really would show growth as Tim as a character, I would say, if that is the way that he processes this.
Yeah, I was disappointed this didn't end in sex, though.
I think,
like, I would like to have seen them, do the thing that they do on a lot of movies and TV shows where they throw everything off the desk, just get all that worst off the table and let's go.
Well, Tim actually wants to enjoy the worst.
That's true. It's his favorite meal.
Yeah, hard to do that.
All right, last scene here, and this is a fast episode. There's just like, my notes reflected that there wasn't a lot going on, and it's really just that scene of Jill and Tim with the show being on. That's the real meat on this one. Tool time. Saginaw cheese promo. Do they only do this with Sparky?
Yeah, I don't remember anyone else doing it. But I don't know why they do it at all, honestly.
Yeah, it's not that funny.
No.
All right, well, they do it. And then the only funny part is when they're done with the promo, they always do this on Tool Time where they kind of like scurry over, they run over their next spot, they got to keep things moving. It's the magic moment, Jordan. The record-breaking unveiling somehow, which still needs to be explained to me. We get another crosscut here. The family's watching at home, and Jill is excited. And no Brad in this episode, we didn't mention. Brad is not in a single frame, which is interesting. That doesn't happen very, very often. And the boys are surprised that Jill is so excited for this, and she says, well, I'm just glad to have it done. And this is where Mark says, like, yeah, we get to have our life. I get to have my life back. Yeah. And Randy's like, yeah, what life? What life, you piece of shit?
Good call by Randy, but yeah, how was this hot rod stopping Mark from having a life? That's what I want to know.
Like, they even moved it for your stupid garage band. So, like, if anything, everybody's been very accommodating.
The other night, didn't
season.
Tim take him to a stupid rehearsal as well at like 11 o'clock at night? I don't know.
Yeah, I know. It's like they've been really patient with Mark, and we'll talk about that in season and summation.
Yeah, well, all right.
What? Yeah, we'll talk about a lot of things in season and summation. But all right, so yeah, no Brad, no Mark. Cut back to Tool Time. They unveil it. Car looks good. It's like a cherry.
I think
color.
that's what they call it too earlier. Some sort of cherry.
Okay. It looks good. And the crowd goes wild, so on and so forth. But come to find out, Tim. He couldn't stop tinkering, so there's not the upholstery. Everything isn't. I don't even think there's seats inside.
Yeah,
the
he
car.
took out the seats because when he got the hood back, he realized it didn't really match the seats.
Yeah. So then Al says, "That's 3 more months of work," and he says, "Yeah." And then Jill and Mark and Randy are all like, "Oh no!" And that's fade to black on season 7 from top to bottom, aka
Hoodwinked.
Hoodwinked or quid pro. Oh no.
Adam hopping in my hot rod, which does have seats, and
Is it cherry?
it's
Do you like restoring hot rods to cherry?
I'm taking a slow cruise down to Castle's
You might
Corner.
as well. We talked about that one for about 5 minutes.
Oh, man. Yeah, let's talk about this one. Highs and lows, overall thoughts. I'll let you go first.
Thanks for that. I mean, highs and lows. Highs. I like the scene with Jill and Wilson at the fence. That was funny. There's some decent dialogue when all the fellas are watching the show at Harry's Hardware. Like, there's some good lines. Even Marty's got a couple of decent zingers, and I don't know. Yeah, there's not a lot. Like, this episode, I didn't even dislike this episode, really. Like, I think it's fine. It's just there's not that much to talk about. It's very, very simple. The problem is simple. Things wrap up in a pretty concise way. The boys have nothing to do. Like, I guess lows. What would a low be? Like, the opening segment goes on kind of long for. I mean, they don't really have anything to do. It's just sort of the color joke, and it just sort of ends with like, I guess Tim can't figure out what color the car is going to be, and then I don't know, it just sort of felt like it didn't need to be that long. I like Sparky. Sparky's jazzercise or whatever step class thing is pretty funny, but I'm talking about lows. So lows, even like the Jill on the show thing, like it was neither good nor bad. Like, it wasn't that funny, but also wasn't like cartoonish and silly, like in the way, like, you know, I kind of wanted I wanted her on the show to be like very over the top, like when Tim and Al go to the nightclub. I was kind of hoping for something like that, like sort of cheesy enough the moment, but pretty down the middle. Like I said, the boys don't have a lot going on. It wraps up very organically, which is fine, I guess, because like it's not that big of a problem. Perhaps I would have liked a better button on the season than like Tim's going to work on the car for another 3 months and everybody being like, oh no. But I don't know, it's fine. I don't really have a lot to say. It's a pretty simple episode.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head there. There's just it's not a real compelling conflict because A, we've seen it before, and B, it wraps up so quickly that there's no tension there at all. Yeah. So that's tough. I think
I missed Brad.
I think we all miss Brad. I think, yeah, you have to have more for the boys to do just for the sake of like having something else going on. And maybe,
and like I said, it feels really padded too. Like at the end, they go back and like they do the Saginaw cheese promo, and the beginning is like 4 minutes long. Like, just maybe felt like they didn't have enough here.
It's funny because they do a very similar type episode when Tim kind of ridicules Wilson. And there's more of like Wilson being mad or more of Wilson being ridiculed. Yeah. And they didn't really take that approach here. There's just the scene in the hardware store where Tim's getting made fun of. But other than that, there's not a whole lot. So maybe that would have been slightly more compelling. But yeah, there's not a lot to go on here besides that central conflict. I mean, I guess I like that they had Tim kind of seem like he's maybe learned from his past failures and kind of recognized perspective, but even that, maybe I'm giving them too much credit because they didn't really like display that. That's something that I'm reading into the role, possibly. Yeah. So I don't know. Sparky's fine. Yeah, I don't have any problems with Sparky. I thought Benny was surprisingly funny in this episode. You know, that's
Sparky's fine. How about Sparky's very fine?
Well, all right. I think you're more of a Sparky guy than I am.
Wow. At first I'm more of a Rodney guy, now I'm more of a Sparky guy. This has been an eye-opening season.
Really has been. Yeah, I don't have much else to reveal. I think the first time I really liked the Saginaw cheese promo, but now that you're redoing it, it's not quite as funny either. So
it's like an oddity the first time, and then the second and third and maybe fourth time you're like, why are we doing this?
Yeah, is it really that funny? It's not like the I don't go for that type of thing. Where
I mean, is that funny? That's just funny because of how many times they've gone back to the well. It's like, oh wow, they really like this.
I mean, yeah, it's different to me just because they do that in different situations. This is like the same thing. Let's just like copy and paste. So that's episode 176. We're leaving Castle's Corner, and we're heading to the season and summation summit.
Da 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 da. Of course, that's the music we always do when we go to season and summation. The Superman music.
And we have you sing it because it's just better for copyright.
Definitely, yeah. It kind of skirt under the the magnifying glass of corporate America.
Oh, fat cats.
Babe. Hear this thing? Yeah, you guys hear the thing about corporate America?
What, Jay? What is it?
These guys, they're up to no good. I got nothing. Right. I don't know. There's no joke
Well, there's maybe lots of jokes to be had in season 7.
there. Wow.
So many. And
where do you want to start?
yeah, so we're going to talk about season 7.
Do you want me to give my overall thoughts now or at the end?
I think overall at the end. And maybe I'll be able to guess them from your top 3 episodes, bottom 3 episodes. Sometimes you have some honorable mentions. Top 3 guest stars and season MVP. That's what we're going to be talking about here.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to start with the top 3 episodes. Let's start at the summit.
Yeah. Sounds good.
All right. First one on my list is...
I want to say also, I had a hard time with this.
Yeah, I had...
This is maybe the hardest it's ever been, and it deviates from previous lists in interesting ways.
I can't wait to hear about that. Yeah, I had one that I knew for certain. The other 2 I felt like were, dare I say, filler.
All killer and filler?
So my favorite episode of the season is The Right Stuff. This is the episode where Brad gets a newspaper column, the Hey Yo column. We get a little bit of animosity from Randy, and they have to work that out as brothers.
Yeah, it's an honorable mention for me. I did enjoy it, but didn't crack my top 3.
Let's hear your one on your list.
Well, I mean, we do not rank these correct. This is just like
yeah. This is in no particular order.
Crazy. This is our 7th time. Give me Thanksgiving. You know, Rodney. This is an episode I've been looking forward to a long time. It gives me everything I want. Rodney Dangerfield, Pontiac Silverdome, Detroit Lions. It's funny. Rodney just gets basically a bunch of time to do jokes. I like Irv Schmayman. It's funny. Tim, it's just a classic Thanksgiving episode. It's one of the good ones, and it's a famous episode for that reason. So yeah, it's easily my favorite episode of the season. I will say that.
Yeah, so that's on my list as well. But the only thing that I guess we were missing in that episode was there was no Lions just recovered a fumble. From us.
Lions just recovered a fumble.
Yes. All right, we're making up for past sins. We didn't say it, the show didn't say it, and it had to be said.
They blew that. I don't know. Yeah. Keep your show Bible. You know?
Yeah. Well, I don't think that is something they had on the show.
They definitely do not seem to have any awareness to what they've done in the past.
All right. The last one on my list then is Taking Jill for Granted, in which we get a return of Tom Wopat as Ian. He comes to install the granite. You got Tim very excited about Ian and saying things like, give this guy anything he wants. Ian makes a move on Jill. They have the actual kiss instead of the dream kiss sequence that we have from the first time Ian's around. It's not a real strong case for a top 3 for me, but I just remember liking Tom Wopat in his performance and it being something a little bit different. So,
did not crack my list, Jordan. So that means I've got 2 more.
All right, let's hear 'em.
Here. That this is I knew that this was going to be different this year. Give me Quest for Fire.
Okay.
It's the first episode of season 7. They're on location. I think I have a personal connection, as I was in Traverse City as they were filming the episode. But moreover, I enjoyed it. We get good on location stuff. It's the start of the Tim midlife crisis. There's some good stuff with the kids and being on a boat and stuff. And I like the on location episodes. And for me, it was a good start to the season. It sort of set the tones and the themes for the season, and we got the kids doing interesting things, and I just like that one.
Yeah, you get Brad's broken up with by Angela, so he's in a funk, kind of going through those blues, and then at one point Mark has a girlfriend, or at least talks to a girl, which is new.
Talking to a girl, which is as close as we've seen to him having a girlfriend ever.
So that's good. It's not a bad episode by any means.
No, it's in fact very good, as I just outlined. Last one for my top 3, Clash of the Tailors.
Oh yeah.
It's Randy going after big business, big Binford business.
You love this because you hate fat cats.
Yeah, I mean, I hate the corporate fat cats, and I also hate phonies. So Randy, he's doing an article on Binford. He goes in, he meets with Bud, and Tim's there. And I don't know, I just like the conflict in this one. It's somewhat similar to The Right Stuff, and for me, it was kind of a coin flip between whether I was going to include The Right Stuff or Clash of the Tailors. But I thought Tim was really funny in that scene with Bud and Randy going back and forth. And yeah, I just enjoyed that episode. It's a big Randy as a journalist season, and I thought that was the best episode, kind of highlighting that. So
Yeah, no, it's a good one as well. I don't remember much that happens besides the confrontation with Bud and Tim afterward. Yeah, I don't remember.
Well, I don't either, but I know I liked it a lot.
It was memorable.
A couple other ones I liked. A Night to Dismember, which is the Mark Halloween one where he's like making the video. It's not like a really good Halloween episode, so it's not going to crack my top 3, which is probably... I was going to say that this is probably the first time that neither a Halloween nor a Christmas episode has been in my top 3.
That's probably about right.
Yeah, but I did like this one. It was pretty good, but it just wasn't as good as the other ones. And then the Old College Try.
I knew that was going to be an honorable mention for you.
Is that... I don't remember what it is.
You're such an academic. It's when Tim's a...
Oh, is that with Tim as the teacher? Yeah, I
you just felt like it was you, the former teacher years of Adam.
Yeah, that was what it is. But yeah, quite a few episodes I enjoyed. So it was difficult to make the decision.
Yeah, I felt like we talked. I mean, and maybe we'll get into this after the bottom 3. We talked about, and maybe this is so hard about picking a top 3. There was a lot of like parody throughout the season. There wasn't a lot. There was definitely some low lows, but it seemed like a lot of them were pretty middle of the road. So
yeah, it was. Thanksgiving was easy to get to, but then the rest of them I had to kind of think out a bit.
We made you work here on Home and Podcast, and that's
right. All right, let's do bottom 3.
Yeah, I think we should. My first one that came to mind for me.
There will be crossover here, I can guarantee.
All right, well, let's see if you've got this one. How about Desperately Seeking Willow?
Ding, ding, ding.
Oh, yeah. We've talked about we do not like the Willow character. Like, she's not particularly interesting, so centering an episode around her was pretty tough. And then the way that they do it, where they're like, all of a sudden she has to stay at the Taylors for some reason, felt a little convoluted. And then Willow, as a 25, 26-year-old, whatever age she is just kind of like a terrible, like, unthoughtful person. So it's just not a great episode, not particularly interesting. And they can't get into the club. Maybe if they were in the club, if Tim was in the club.
Everybody in the club getting Timsy.
Yeah, that would be good.
And Jill, like, I don't know, Willow sucks. This episode is an episode built around Willow is pretty brutal, and like Jill is kind of immediately just sort of like worrying about Willow, which is just not a good look. It wasn't for me. Didn't like it.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, what's your next one?
Oh, it's got to be The Sun Also Mooches.
Ding, ding, ding.
I mean, if Marty is a wet blanket, Jeff is a blanket. Underneath Niagara Falls, getting drenched. Yeah, he just like sucks. I don't know. He comes in, and I guess I don't like the performance a ton, but I don't even know if Brad Pitt could save the character. He's like, he's mooching off the mother. He's had a lot of failed business attempts. We get a lot of jokes about his failed business attempts. Him and Tim have no chemistry. It just isn't that pleasant. I don't like watching families fight about money. A little too real, maybe.
It's too close to home for you. I think
too close to home, babe.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really want to talk too much more about that one. It's just, Jeff is. It's tough. These first 2 episodes we're talking about, they center around characters where you're really deep in the run, and so you're going to these very tertiary characters who are not interesting, and they're tertiary for a reason. So it's
why couldn't we have had a Sparky episode?
Ooh, Sparky. Sparky's too busy for Tool Time.
That's
Home
right,
Improvement.
yeah.
All right, my third one. Let's see if we got 3. Well, upon reflection, I don't know if I would put this in my bottom 3 or not, but it's
a no-brainer for me, this one.
All right, I put top to bottom, the one we just covered. So,
you blew it.
I think I said, we talked about this before, I think it was just kind of boring to me, so... And it was maybe recency bias, but not particularly interesting. But we just talked about that, so I don't want to go on about that. What's your last one?
The correct answer is Tim the Landlord Taylor.
I don't know. I like the dynamic there.
Oh, it's terrible. He gives Al that lease, and it's not. They just argue the whole time, and Tim acts so irrational, and they give the excuse that like, oh, I'm Tim, I get really into things, and I got really into this lease, and that's the whole episode.
He likes to go overboard. I'm not saying it's my top 3, that's for sure, but I felt like that was a more interesting premise for me than this top to bottom stuff.
Wrong. Okay, honorable mentions. Say Goodnight, Gracie. Marty's like daughter's there, and Tim wants to have a kid. Kind of stupid. And Room at the Top, which is what we just covered.
No, that's from top to bottom. Room at the Top is when Jill wants an office in the attic.
Oh, well, I didn't like it apparently. I don't remember it.
Don't ask me why.
Yeah. You got any more honorable mentions?
No, I'm not an honorable mention type of guy.
Okay, all right. Let's talk about favorite guest stars, and if you don't mind, I'd like to start.
I know who's going to be your number 1.
How about I'm not ranking them in order, so I'm going to skip the obvious and give you a surprise. Give me Elaine, old lady Elaine Heckart in Losing My Religion. Randy goes in, she dies, they form a bond, and then he stops believing in God. Episode itself is whatever, but I kind of enjoyed that old bag of bones. I liked her. Despite what I just called her. I swear. I started with B and I kind of got stuck. She's not an old bag of bones. She's a pleasant old woman. I enjoyed her performance.
Oh, man. Old bag of bones.
Cut that out.
I know you didn't mean it.
I didn't mean it.
You wouldn't
like her?
She's good, but she's not on my list. The first one on my list, I did write Rodney Dangerfield.
Of course, yeah.
That's a no-brainer for both of us. Just he comes on. He's they give him give him some time to just write his own jokes and deliver them, and he just does his best, and that's all we can ever ask out of Rodney Dangerfield. So, I mean, they didn't do a lot to like figure out why he's in the episode, and frankly, nobody cares. So
didn't matter.
I just like that they let him do his thing, whereas like when they have Drew Carey on, they give him a crappy role as well. So
yeah, or Grant Hill playing the role of Grant Hill. Bad role.
You haven't even. I know Dangerfield's on your top 3, so tell me.
Yeah, for sure. Last one, and then I have a couple just like worth mentioning. But Alex Rocco as Irv Schmayman.
He's on my list.
He was really good, and I didn't remember that part of the episode. He's just like funny. I don't know. He's kind of a schmaltzy, maybe perverted kind of guy, real talker. But I enjoyed the performance. I thought he was good.
Yeah, he was fun. I just remember him being funny. Like you said, it's hard to be in an episode where we have so much to expect from Dangerfield, but he really brought his own and did a good performance.
Basically split into 2. Like, it's the first half of the episode belongs to him, and then Dangerfield comes in, and it's like Hurricane Rodney.
And boy, was it a soaker.
Yeah.
My last one is Tom Wopat.
Yeah.
So we get a couple of him. Just good performances. Does Ian, I don't know, compelling, seemed to have some chemistry with Patricia Richardson. And he's an old Duke boy. What's not to like?
Yeah, definitely. I didn't write him down, but I did like him as well. I'd be remiss if I didn't draw attention to Parker's performance. Jill's mom's boyfriend, Parker. Parker, I barely know him.
I knew that was coming.
And then this is going to seem like I'm sucking up, but and we mentioned her last season, but I was thinking this season, like, they really should have made Courtney Peldon's Lauren character, like, in more episodes. Like, she should have been reoccurring. She's easily, like, the best, like, tertiary girlfriend character the show's ever had. Every time she's in it, she's, like, very good, very strong, like, adds a lot to the show. Like, I wish that they would have made her, not, like, main credit, but, like, more reoccurring. Like, she's just in a handful of episodes. Like, I wish we could have gotten more of her just in general in the show, because I feel like she really adds a lot.
Yeah, and it felt like... Was she on a lot more last season? I know she's in Quest for Fire.
Yeah. I think you get her more last season, and then she's just kind of pops up a few. Like, I think the last time we saw her was in the Right Stuff. So
yeah, no, I agree.
I'm just a fan. Yeah,
she's easily the best girlfriend. So
yeah.
Oh well, what can you do? We can, however, move on to the most coveted award that Home and Podcast can give, and that's the season MVP.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what you've got here, but I think I have an idea of where you're going.
It was hard. I gotta say, like, it was really hard, and I'm not sure I feel great about my choice, but
wow.
I'm gonna give it nonetheless. Yeah. For me, the season MVP is Randy.
Ooh. Wow.
I at first thought I was gonna say Brad, But, when it comes down to it, this is pretty much it for Randy. This is the most Randy-centric season we've probably ever gotten. There are a lot of episodes built around Randy. There's a lot of episodes built around the kids in general, but we get Randy as a journalist a couple of times. We get, I think we get some Randy and Lauren episodes early on. Maybe I'm wrong. We get Randy with the older woman, Losing My Religion. We get
Cursing out Bud Harper.
Cursing out Bud Harper. We just a lot of Randy, and Randy is the most famous of the kids
For a reason.
He's probably the best actor. This is the last time we're going to get him on the show, and I don't know. It was hard because I probably enjoyed Brad more this season. He's funnier. He's purposefully funnier, and he gets a lot of silly lines, and he's eating cheese off of pizzas, and he's just smoking weed, and he's kind of a dope. But I gotta reward Randy at a certain point, and I felt like this was his MVP season, and that's why I gave it to him. This is the end of Randy, and I didn't want to see him leave home Impodcast without taking some hardware home.
Yeah, I think I gave him MVP last season, so I didn't maybe feel such an inclination to do that. But
it's his coming of age year. That's all I want to say.
Season MVP for me was Brad, for all the reasons that you briefly mentioned. He's just a funny guy in this season. You got the right stuff with the Hey Yo columns and all that goes along with that. He's the episode, particularly when he's just eating stuff and just making that 2-foot tall sandwich and stuff. It's just good stuff. So a lot more Brad episodes. You saw him start at the very bottom where he's just broken by Angela, and he moves all the way up to Samantha and that whole roller coaster. So I just enjoyed Brad this season more than I ever remembered, and it was a fun ride.
All right. Sorry, I'm just taking some notes here. All right, so I want to, before I give kind of my state of the season address here, I wanted to ask you a couple questions, okay?
Okay.
This is pretty much it for Mark Goth, as far as I know. Did it deliver on your memories? We talked a lot about Mark being a goth in preparation for the season, and it's something people think about a lot. But was Mark's goth phase as memorable, or was Mark as weird or as strange or as out there as you remember? Did it deliver, Jordan?
I would say yes. He's pretty weird, especially with Ronnie. It's not one of my biggest memories of the show in general, so maybe that colors it. Maybe some people, that's all they remember. But you still have the episode where he cuts off his parents' heads, and you got the Ronnie band, and when he first becomes goth and all this kind of stuff. So it's all shocking, especially for the Taylor parents. And he's just kind of a weird. He's having a weird pubescent season. So I don't know. It felt fine to me. I didn't think they overdid it necessarily, and I didn't think it was underwhelming either. So
I would say it delivered. They slowly kind of spooned it out to you, mm-hmm. It really was over the course of the season. Things kind of started to add up, and they would just return to it enough. I think, at first I was this is nothing, but over the course of the season, I felt like the goth stuff, was memorable at the very least. What else do I want to say? That's really it as far as questions. You get the Tim midlife crisis theme, Mark as goth. The end. This is kind of the end of Randy. We're getting very close to it, but we'll probably talk more about that as it happens next season. So here are kind of my overall thoughts on season 7, and you don't feel free to jump in as you wish, but I'm going to say season 7 was better than I expected. There are less high highs, mm-hmm. And probably fewer low lows, but a good baseline of enjoyable episodes. We're getting more of the kids, a lot of coming of age sort of stuff with each kid sort of struggling with different things. You get Randy at the newspaper, Brad's going to college or talking about going to college, Mark is just struggling with his identity, driving, girls, so on and so forth. More kids, probably more sentimental in general. Show felt very sentimental this season.
Just wait till next season, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah. And we're getting more of a reliance on those kind of tertiary characters. So we're getting Willow, we're getting Jeff, we're getting more of the brothers, the hardware guys, so on and so forth. But I enjoyed season 7, and I thought it was going to be worse than it was. So that's always a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, when we talked about the Nielsen ratings and quite the big drop that was coming, you get a little worried, and I think you hit it right on, where it wasn't like super high highs. We don't have like these incredibly memorable Halloween episodes or super funny moments that are going to end up being, in our like top home improvement moments when we do that type of synopsis or whatever summary. But yeah, it's not bad. It's pretty consistent. There are definitely some stinkers in here and characters we don't really want to hear much of, but they still got all the guest stars, and maybe that's what helped, is they really relied on these Alex Roccos, Tom Wopat, Dangerfield, Grant Hill, people like that, coming in and bringing a little bit of a punch. Bower Sox comes back, all that kind of
Backer
stuff.
Sox.
But it's. I don't think the show overall as a whole. I still don't understand why people don't like it as much as they do now.
No, Well, I mean, that's something we got to discuss, I guess, at the end of our run. But I would agree with you. Yeah, it doesn't seem fair to me at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, unless season 8 goes off a real big cliff.
The first season of season 8 is like Tim is in blackface or something really awful, and then we're like, okay,
I see it.
That's why people turn in the show. But no, I don't foresee that happening. So
all right, you know what I do foresee happening right now?
Got to talk a little social media, right?
Yeah, I think we're going to do that. So most important thing that we want to talk about here is YouTube. So if you haven't yet, make sure to go to our YouTube page. And look at the 10 best guest stars on Home Improvement. We went through and talked about our favorite guest stars of all time. And it's a short, 10-minute video, and you can see
You can see how small Jordan is and how small his clothes are.
That's right, how tiny I am. And we're going to be doing a new video coming up. As this is released, it's going to be coming out on this Friday. We're going to be doing a YouTube premiere. So this week we're going to be talking about the most emotional moments in home improvement history. And we're going to be watching the video live as it premieres with you guys on YouTube next Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. So make sure that you are watching our socials for that. And you can also just go to the Home and Podcast YouTube page and be alerted for when we go live there. So most emotional coming at you next week. Other than that, talked about doing First Kids soon. Make sure if you want to get that episode, go to patreon.com/homeandpodcast. Adam?
And remember to rate and subscribe on YouTube.
Not rate and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
No, you gotta rate it as well.
Maybe, yeah, let us know if you like the videos. Comment.
Comment. That'd be cool. Not a ton going on Twitter. Poll. Who is best equipped to go to space? 21 total votes. 9.5% said Jill. 9.5% said Tim. 33.3% said Al. And 47.6% said Wilson. What do you make of that?
It doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't seem fair that Tim would be so low. They chose him. He's got to be kind of equipped.
You kind of have to be in quite good shape as far as I'm aware. And
we saw Al was not equipped.
Not equipped. And Wilson, I imagine, is also quite out of shape. So it just doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense.
So you're saying our listeners are kind of stupid?
Yeah, I think Brad should be up there.
Brad, I should have included Brad. My mistake. Other than that, that's really all on Twitter this week. I did post a picture of that sweet Sylvester Stallone Planet Hollywood shirt I referenced last week. No likes yet. Come on, guys.
Oh, man. There's 800 people who just ignored that post. That's hard to believe.
I know. Isn't that savage? Yeah. But other than that, that's really all I got on social media. So.
All right. Well, that is season 7 in the books.
Oh, wow. Last season.
Wow. We've been waiting.
We're going to get as sentimental as Home Improvement does in the promos.
Last episode of Home and Podcast is just going to be you and me bawling the whole time.
Yeah.
You can't get it.
I mean, I can't believe we're finally here the last season. It's pretty crazy. I mean, that'll wear off in about 4 weeks. But, yeah, it is pretty crazy.
When Randy leaves to Costa Rica?
That's going to suck. Oh, man, that's going to be brutal. But what are you going to do? I can't believe he didn't return. I mean, we'll talk about this. He didn't come back for the finale. Must have been some serious bad blood.
He does come back for like a Christmas episode or something, though, right?
Yeah, but not the finale.
Well, it's realism. He was in Costa Rica, couldn't get out.
Yeah, I love it when Home Improvement gives me realism. All right, what are we talking about next week, Jordan?
Next week, we're covering the first episode of season 8, which is Whitewater.
And it's not the Bill and Hillary Clinton affiliated housing complex in Arkansas. That's what you guys are thinking. Listeners, thank you for listening. Jordan, thank you for joining me. I guess I should say take care.
Take care, everybody.